Okay, now that we have worked with multiplying, we're going to work on multiplying binomials. So binomials again means that we have, each expression has two terms. So if you look here, we have two terms in this first expression and two in the next. The first way I'm going to show you is a visual way of multiplying. So as you can see on the side here, I have written the two binomials, negative 2x positive 5, I took apart those terms, and then the two terms in the next expression, 3x and the negative 1. Now when you first learned how to do multiplication, you learned with arrays where you would look across the top and the side. You also learned to do multiplication tables where it would be multiplying by 3 and they'd give you a list of number and then you'd say this times 3 and this times 3. So it's the same concept. So what's going to go into each one of these squares is when I multiply looking down the column and across the row. So if I multiply 3x times a negative 2x, my answer would be a negative 6x squared. 3 times negative 2 is the negative 6 for my coefficient, and the x times the x is an x squared. Now I could move, we'll just move over to the right here. This time again, negative 1 times a negative 2x. Negative times negative gives me a positive. 1 times 2 gives me the 2, and x. Same thing, now this 3x is going to get multiplied by the 5 in this case. So that would give me a 15x. And the negative 1 times the 5, that gives me a negative 5. Now those are the terms that are going to be a part of my answer. When you look at those terms, you should notice that we have some like terms. We have two terms that are the terms with x in them, the variable x. So I can combine those two terms. We're going to remember our rule of degrees, and we're going to go ahead and write each one of those terms in the rule of degrees. So negative 6x squared would be the largest degree. Then we have our 15x, and we also have 2x, so we'll combine those. They're both positive, so that would give me 17x. And then I have the constant term, negative 5. So to multiply those binomials, I would end up with three terms in my final expression. Let's do a couple more of those for practice. Again, this would be the visual one using a table. So we'll go ahead and we will try, let's do negative 6b minus 4. That's my first expression. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply negative b plus 3. I'm going to set up my table. I'm going to put my terms. So I'll put this term up on the top. I'm going to separate my binomial into two different terms, negative 6b and negative 4. And then my other binomial would be a negative b and a positive 3. Negative 6b times my negative b is going to give me a positive 6b squared. Negative 4 times a negative 6, negative b would give me a positive, negative times negative, 4b. Negative 6b times 3 would give me a negative 18b. And a negative 4 times negative 3 would give me a positive 12. Again, 4 terms to begin with, and then we have the like terms. This one and this one are like terms. So we'll go ahead and we'll write our final answer here in order of degrees again. So 6b squared, then I have a positive 4b and a negative 18b. That would give me a negative 14b. And then I have my positive 12. And this would be the simplest form of my final expression. Now that you've seen the visual, we're going to go ahead, and I believe this is the method you will start wanting to use. It's called the FOIL method. Each letter in FOIL stands for a certain location of that one term of the binomial. So F first, then outside, then inside, then last. This is very similar to the distributive method, and I'll even use my standard arrows to show you that. So first means I'm going to take the first term in each binomial, and I'm going to multiply those together. Okay, so that's the first. So 4x times 5x would give me 20x squared. The next terms, let's do something that you're going to see, let's use a black, are going to be my outside terms. So that would be my 4x is on the outside of this one, and my 2x is on the outside of the next expression. So 4x times a negative 2x would give me negative 8x. Let's get some other colors here so you can see this. Now inside is going to be the terms that are on the inside of this multiplication. So 3 times 5x. Those are my inside terms. So that would be positive 15x. Notice this is similar to what we were doing in the visual blocks there. I have my two terms that have I have two terms that are like terms. And then our last ones would be the last one of my first binomial and the last one of my second binomial. So that would be the 3, positive 3, times negative 2, which gives me negative 6. Now to finish that off, we got to make sure that we combine those like terms. So I am in my order of degrees, 20x squared, negative 8x, positive 15x is going to give me a positive 7x, and my constant term is my negative 6. I have another example for this one, and this one would be talking with a story, using it for a story problem. So the distributive method here, you are enlarging a photo that is 7 inches long and 5 inches wide. The length and width of the enlargements are x times, we don't know how many times, the length and width of the original photo. So it could be 2 times as big or 10 times as big. The enlargement will have a 2-inch mass. So we want to write a polynomial expression for the combined area of the enlargement. So when we do that, we could change this to two separate distributives. We could say 7x, and we could multiply that by the second binomial, 5x plus 4. And then we could add the second, sorry about that, calibration. We're going to add the second term, 4, and I'm going to multiply that by the second expression. Now in this way, we simply have two separate distributives. So again, I would distribute this, each of my terms. 7x plus 5x would give me 35x squared. 7x plus 4x would give me 28x. 4x times 5x, both positives. I'm sorry, 4 times 5x would give me 20x. And 4 times 4 times 4 would give me 16. Again, you should notice we have some like terms there. So I would go ahead with my 35x squared. That is ugly. Gotta fix that. 35, that's much better, x squared. 28x plus another 20x would give me 48x. And 16 would be my final term. So you've learned 3 different ways. All will result in 3 terms with the 2 terms, initial terms would be like terms that can be combined. You've learned the table method, the distributive method, and the FOIL method. This was the distributive method. I took my first binomial and turned it into 2 separate multipliers for each expression, or for that expression. The FOIL method the first, outside, inside, last. And I'll tell you, this is the way that they'll tell you most in high school. The FOIL method is what, and even if you ask your parents, they'll remember that a little bit. And then if you're more visual, you'll do it this way, but hopefully you can see the relationship between, you're taking the first ones, you're multiplying them together, you're taking this would actually be your insides and your outsides, and then you're taking your last term here and here. All right, I'm going to do one more with the FOIL method just because, as I said, that's the most popular one. So we'll do, maybe two more. This isn't too long of a video. So let's do 8k minus 1, and we're going to multiply that by a negative 3k minus 5 for our second binomial. So we're going to do first, our two first terms, 8k times negative 3k would give me a negative 24k, remember that's a squared, k times k. My outside terms would be my 8k and my negative 5. That would give me negative 40k. My inside terms, that would give me a negative 3 times a negative 1, negative 3k times a negative 1, which would give me a positive 3k. And my last terms, the last term of each expression, negative 1 times negative 5, which gives me a positive 5. You'll notice those outside-inside terms are like terms. I can go ahead and combine them to simplify. Negative 40 plus 3k would get me negative 37k. One more of those. That's again FOIL. First, outside, inside, left. That's the way you want to move with these. Oh, let's see. Let's do looking in your book at your checkpoint ones. Let's do an m minus 3 multiplied by an m minus 2. First terms, m times m gives me m squared. Outside, FOIL, F-O, oil, the O is your second term. Outside terms, that would be your m and the negative 2. So that's negative 2m. Inside terms, that would give you the negative 3, and the m, that would give you negative 3m. And then the last terms, that would be negative 3 in this first expression, negative 2 in the next, giving you a positive 6. Combine those like terms in the middle, negative 2m and a negative 3m would give you negative 5m plus 6. So it's a little bit of everything that you've learned, distributive, property, multiplying, terms, like terms. So putting that all together, and then you will come up with one last